Okay, thank you. This, of course, is Stourhead, the home of Sir Richard Colt Hoare, who, of course, was the patron of William Cunnington, who did lots of excavations and wrote, essentially was probably the first real archaeologist. Now, I don't know if you spotted, but the National Trust launched their amazing database of objects from all their properties. It's about 18 months or so ago now. And being slightly curious, nothing better to do one evening, I called up Stourhead and decided to look through all the records to see what was there. And amongst, it's something like 4,000 or 5,000 objects altogether, everything sort of through from furnishings to sort of bits of crockery and paintings. But I found this, which I suddenly thought, that could be interesting. So as you see, it's a notebook and picture of a, don't quote me on this, but I assume it's a collared urn of some description, saying Stonehenge 1806. So I thought, that probably is worth investigating. So very kindly, the National Trust allowed me to go and visit, and supported by Sandy Haynes from who's one of our library and archive volunteers. She may be on the call, I'm not quite sure. And the National Trust were doing housekeeping at the time. It was in the winter, so it was closed to the public. So I was actually able to look at the notebook in Sir Richard Colt Hoare's own library, and there you see a sculpture of him reading his ancient Wiltshire, looking down on me. So a big thanks to Sandy for sorting it all out and doing some transcriptions as well, so we knew some transcribing of what was in the notebook. The National Trust, especially Emily Blanchard, who made the arrangements. And I should say the images I'm going to show you are all copyright of the National Trust from the booklet. So what's in it? This is the cover, I think is probably the wrong word. This was the image on the front. So it would have had a proper cover, I think, but that's gone. And very nice drawing of a bit of pot from Stonehenge, dated 1806. Now I've tried looking through Sir Richard, William Cunnington's notebooks, and I can't find any obvious reference to where this bit of pot came from. And as we'll see in a bit, the words using Stonehenge is more of a general location rather than from the stone circle itself, as far as I can tell. I haven't given up with that yet. So beautiful drawing, probably by Sir Richard Colt Hoare himself, rather than Philip Crocker, who is, of course, his artist. Now, in the book, there's a whole bunch of things, so I'll just skim through them. This wonderfully legible handwriting, which is where Sandy Haynes came in, which was a series of notes about things up in the north, sort of the eastern side of Wiltshire, taken from other books, from Ackerman's Memorandums and Wiltshire's and Camden by Wiltshire by Camden. On this page, top left, is something about the Rudge Cup, which is now in Alnwick Castle, owned by the Duke of Northumberland. Gorgeous Roman vessel with enamel, absolutely fabulous. And then a description of the discovery of Littlecote Roman Villa. This is copied out as though it was sort of like you'd photocopy a site plan when you're going to visit somewhere. Then there's this, quite a faint pencil sketch, and you can see in the centre Stanton St Bernard being mentioned. And what I think this is, he's looking at parish boundaries and the linear earthworks in the Vale of Pewsey, and you can see the shading of the North Wessex Downs. So that's quite fun. Then this, which is lovely. So rather obviously, this is Silbury, and you've got the bridge over the river. This must be where essentially the A4 crosses the River Kennet. So fantastic view of Silbury. And I really think this must be a sort of a notebook that Sir Richard Colt Hoare took with him when he was on his trip to North Wiltshire, sort of North and East Wiltshire. And he passed Silbury Hill and did this sketch. And this is very similar to many of his other sketches. I think it's really evocative. And also from Stonehenge, in March 1806, you have this drawing of a beaker. Now, I sent this to Lisa, and it took her all of a nanosecond to spot that it's this beaker that's on display in our prehistory gallery. This was excavated from by the road to Winterbourne Stoke, so it's not Stonehenge, as in the monument itself. It's in the immediate area, and this beaker was found in the hands of a crouched skeleton. But you can clearly see how the two link, and it's great to be able to have this link through to objects in museum collections. Now, the last thing I want to show you is relates to Marden Henge. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about Marden, because some of you will be very familiar with it, some of you perhaps slightly less so. So Marden Henge is, of course, the super henge in Wiltshire that most people haven't heard of. They know Stonehenge, Avebury, Durrington Walls. So this is an aerial view from historic England, showing the henge, and the bank and ditch, so external bank, interior ditch, goes through this bank of trees here, round here. This area here is part of, is a guardianship site, the Hatfield Earthworks, I think it's called, comes through here. There's probably an entrance here, might be an earlier trackway, round here and joins the river, and there's no bank and ditch on the south side. Now, one of the features of Marden Henge was Hatfield Barrow. So this plan was commissioned by Sir Richard Colt Hoare, was done by Philip Crocker, his artist. And you see the circuit of the bank and ditch. You can see here Hatfield Barrow, which is the huge mound, sort of baby brother of Silbury Hill, and here an inner henge. So this is where Jim Leary excavated a very well preserved Neolithic stroke beaker hut a couple of years ago that many of you will have heard of. But it's Hatfield Barrow that is quite interesting, because this was excavated by William Cunnington, funded by Sir Richard Colt Hoare, and they dug a hole down through the centre. They found parcels of cremated bone, some bits of wood, and stag horns. Now, the henge here is on green sand, and when they dug down into the mound, essentially the mound started collapsing. They didn't backfill it, rather like what happened to Silbury Hill in sort of 10, 15 years ago, and the mound started to collapse. And when Sir Richard Colt Hoare went back in, I think it was about 1825, there was literally no trace of the mound whatsoever. It had been ploughed flat. And the material from the mound had been ploughed into the ditch. This is the only picture we have of it. This is from, dated 1724 and is an enclosure map. The henge is in this area somewhere. That's Puckshipton Park, and you can see here the mound. And Jim Leary excavated the mound in 2010. This is him pointing out there was a post hole bang in the centre, which could have been a timber post that went all the way up through the mound, and he excavated just the top section of the ditch, which was just over here somewhere. So we know precisely where it is. So just with that background, then when I was turning the pages of the notebook, I came across this, which of course is a drawing of the Hatfield Barrow. So to the best of my knowledge, this has not, no one spotted this before. And it's a wonderful drawing, and you can see it gives the dimensions, 240 feet, saying it's a sketch of the tumulus in an area of the works at Marden. By that he means the henge, and dated March 1806. Cunnington talks about how the mound itself was ploughed, and there was a bushel of wheat came from it in, I think it was 1804 or something like that. So it was very much in cultivation. So even when he started excavating, it had originally been higher. And you can see the figures on the top to give it scale. So you can imagine Cunnington digging down through the centre to try and see what was there. And just to sort of place that in the landscape, this hopefully gives you a vague impression of where the size of the mound and where it was. On the right-hand side of the image, there's the church, which you can no longer see because of the trees, but you can very clearly see the downs. This is the downs above Urchfont. And you can see clearly here how it works. I've taken this photo standing on the top of the bank, which clearly is where it was, the view is taken from, but the bank of the Henge has been ploughed for many years, so it's probably a good 10 feet lower than it was in Sir Richard Colt Hoare's day. So there you are. That's hopefully a nice little surprise. That's all I wanted to say. I'm very happy to try and answer any questions. So over to you, Dan.
Thank you, David. That's really interesting. Nice little gem of something to find. Let's just have a look. I don't think we have any questions. Not in the. Oh, hold on a minute. There is one from Katie Whitaker. She said, "Have you contacted Jim Leary to let him know about it?"
Yes, about a year ago, and Dave Field.
And Dave Field, brilliant. Were they interested?
Slightly.
Yeah.
I was on the phone to Jim Leary. I wanted to hear his reaction. You could just see him jumping up and down like a 10-year-old schoolboy. It's so funny.
Excellent. Good. Another question, David, from Chris Sellen is asking, is this a book of the man's highlights?
No, I think it was sort of a travel, it's a book, because it's got those notes of sites in like Littlecote. I think he was jotting things down that he was going to look at, see on his tour. He's making his own little tour guide, and then was using it to do sketches of things he saw while he was out and about.
Lovely. Right. Oh, now this is going to be interesting. Are you ready, David? Wendy Bishop has raised her hand.
Oh.
So I think I can allow her to talk. Is that how I do it?
You can do.
Lovely. I'm going to let Wendy. Can you hear us? Do you have a question?
She's still on mute just at the moment.
She's still on mute. Can I ask to unmute? Wendy, you're unmuted. Did you have a question?
Yes. I raised my hand by mistake, but
the
question was, did Stukely say anything about this mound?
Wendy, I can't really hear you.
If you can get a bit closer to the microphone.
Okay. The question was, did Stukely say anything about this mound? Hello?
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. That's perfect. Thank you.
That's called the cog, the one brain cell in my brain turning slowly. I don't think he does. He talks about Avebury and Stonehenge, but doesn't really talk much about the sort of sites either around those two monuments much, to my best of my memory, he doesn't talk about Marden.
Lovely.
Yeah, because his notes are in the museum, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah.
But I know Jim has been through everything, and if he did say anything, it would be only in passing. There's nothing significant.
Oh, right. I've got another question from Carlos and Janine saying, can David send me a copy of the photo with Jim Leary, as I'm in it with my eldest son, and good to have a photo when I had more hair. That might be more of a comment one.
So grey, yeah. Sure. If you
I know Carlos, David.
Oh, you do. If you got his address, then brilliant. Okay, yep. I was going to say, just a question of finding the address.
Excellent. And I have another question from Penelope Price-Jones. Is there a good resource for seeing more of Colt Hoare's sketches?
Our website. If you look through, if you go to the website, collections search, and then look at the art collection, and then search for Colt Hoare, you will see some of his sketches. They're online. Not that there's a selection of them.
Lovely. So I'm still amused for Carlos's question. That maybe might have one for the chat rather than the.
Well, at least
Put
he's
me off
honest.
my professional face.
Like, I was about to say no, we can't have a photo of the mound because that's National Trust copyright, but certainly the one I took, of course.
Excellent. That is it for the questions at the moment. Thank you, David. I think that was really interesting. It's great to have these things just sort of appear sometimes out of the blue and everything starts sort of falling into place. So that's fantastic. Thank you for that. Shall we have a couple of minutes, 3 minutes, just to sort of get people to stretch their legs a sec, and only while we sort of get Andy back and swap over the screen, and then we'll start again. What time is it? Let's say just before, let's say 5 to 8. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, David. Hi, Andy.
Oh yeah, you should
You're
have me back now.
Yeah, perfect. Just said we're gonna start back at about 5 to.
Okay.
There's a few minutes. So yes, if you want to sort of get your presentation ready in a couple of minutes, that'd be absolutely fine. We'll get on the way to do it. I had a sudden panic earlier with a question from the raised hand thing. We haven't had one of those yet. I was trying to remember my training with David, trying to work out what I was supposed to do, but we managed to get there.
Yeah, no, it all went reasonably smoothly, that did.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. It's excellent.
It's slightly strange the way you have to get your head around two different systems for people asking questions.
Absolutely.
But actually, I think it does encourage more people to ask stuff. So
yeah,
just
definitely.
Sitting in a hall,
definitely
physically.
Yeah, absolutely.
People being physically present.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, every year I normally have to sort of try and coach people to ask questions, and I have a few people I pick on, like try and get Carlos
plants in the audience.
Exactly, not pick on. That's right. It's plants. That's better. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's good. Excellent. Oh, David's back. Great.
Yep. So,
David, I wasn't able to get rid of the questions that are done. So if you could look at that when Andy's speaking.
Okay.
It's just archiving them. I wasn't sure how to do that. So that's fine.